I wasn't supposed to be there. Julia told me the New Year's dinner was a corporate thing. Strictly business, she'd said. No spouses, no guests. Just board members and leadership, kind of formal and boring. And I believed her. I had no reason not to. At the time, I still thought we told each other the truth. But something about her tone when she said it stuck with me. The way she barely made eye contact. How she said it while scrolling her phone like she was trying not to say too much. I didn't push back. I never really did when it came to her work. Julia thrived in those fast-paced, high-stakes rooms. Strategy meetings, creative launches, end-of-year galas. It was her world. I was just the guy who made sure the car had gas and the fridge had oat milk. Still, I thought I'd surprise her. Not in a dramatic way, not flowers or a big scene. Just a quiet gesture. I stopped by the wine shop on 4th and picked up her favorite bottle. A Chablis from that little vineyard we'd found in Mendocino 3 summers ago. It was the kind of wine she always claimed she was saving for a special occasion, but never opened. I wrote a short note. Happy New Year, Jules. Don't work too late. I'll see you in 2024. I figured I'd drop it off at the hotel front desk. Have them send it to the ballroom with the caterers. Thoughtful, respectful, safe. I even parked a block away. Wore my coat over a wrinkled hoodie because I hadn't planned to be seen. And honestly, I didn't expect anything more than a 5-minute errand before heading back to binge reruns and maybe fall asleep before midnight. But what I saw, it changed everything. She stepped out of a black town car at exactly 6:48 p.m. I remember because I checked my watch, surprised by how early she'd arrived. She always ran late. That was part of her charm, I used to think. The way she floated through time, untethered by clocks. She wasn't alone. Jason got out of the car right behind her. Her supervisor. Technically, she'd been reporting to him for almost a year now. Ever since the internal reorg she'd said was temporary. The same Jason who always seemed to come up in stories that ended with her saying, "But it's nothing. He's just kind of awkward." They were laughing. Really laughing. The kind of laugh where her hand gently touched his arm for balance. Her head tilted back. That full, unfiltered laugh I hadn't seen in months. He reached out as they walked toward the patio entrance, hand grazing the small of her back in a way that wasn't exactly inappropriate, but wasn't exactly professional either. I moved slightly behind one of the concrete pillars near the valet stand, heart thudding in my chest, not because I thought she'd catch me, but because I didn't know what I was even looking for, or hoping not to see. And then it happened. They were standing near one of those tall cocktail tables on the patio, surrounded by string lights and the distant hum of a jazz trio warming up inside. A server walked by with a tray of appetizers, shrimp skewers and miniature crab cakes. Jason had a glass of champagne in one hand. Julia took a fork, slid it into one of the shrimp, then turned to him, smiling. She held it up, playful, confident, familiar, and then she fed him. Right there, in public, in front of everyone, just like that, like it was normal. He leaned in slightly and took the bite from her fork without hesitation. No awkward laugh, no glancing around, no moment of, oh, maybe this is weird. It wasn't weird to them. To them, it was nothing, and she didn't look away. Their eyes stayed locked for a few seconds too long, just long enough to tell me that this wasn't some fleeting mistake or flirty accident. This was something else. And she never saw me. Not once. She didn't glance around to check the crowd. Didn't hesitate. Didn't scan for familiar faces. She was fully in it, like this was their night. Not something she needed to explain away. Not something she needed to hide. I stood there for another 30 seconds, maybe a full minute. Just long enough to make sure I wasn't imagining it. But everything about that moment screamed familiarity. Comfort. Connection, not scandal, not nervousness, just ease. Eventually, they moved inside together, shoulder to shoulder. I didn't follow. I went back to my car, wine still in hand. Sat behind the wheel for what felt like forever, the engine off, just staring at the dashboard like it could tell me what to do. My stomach was twisted, but my head kept replaying the same 5 seconds on loop. Her holding the fork out, him leaning in, that quiet, dangerous look they gave each other. I never dropped off the bottle. I drove home in silence, barely noticing the way the sky had turned that odd shade of blue-gray right before night completely falls. I didn't turn on the radio. I didn't even cry. I just felt outside of myself, like I was watching someone else's life through a screen. She came home just after midnight. Her heels clicked softly against the wood floor as she tiptoed into the house. I was on the couch, pretending to sleep, though my heart was racing like I'd run a marathon. She leaned over, kissed my forehead, just a quick peck, as if she hadn't just been someone else's date. "Hey," she whispered. "I didn't wake you, did I?" "No," I said, blinking slowly. "Everything go okay?" She smiled, tired, soft. "Yeah, pretty standard." Jason spilled champagne on his suit like 5 minutes in. Total chaos. "I think the board hates us now." She chuckled. I forced a smile. "Oh," I said, sitting up slightly. "You looked great, by the way. That dress." Her eyes widened a little, like I'd caught her off guard. "You saw it." "I saw you leave," I lied. "Figured you put some effort in." It showed. She smoothed her hair unconsciously. "Yeah, well, corporate dinner. You know how it is." I nodded, even though I didn't know. "Not really." And that was it. She went to shower. I sat on the couch another hour, staring at the blank television screen, my thoughts static. No fight, no confrontation, just a slow, quiet unraveling. People think betrayal starts with a kiss, or a lie, or something you catch red-handed. But the truth? It starts with something subtle. A look, a gesture, a shrimp skewer, and a moment so ordinary it makes you question whether you've imagined the whole thing. That night, she fed another man from her fork, and didn't even see me. I wanted to believe it didn't mean anything. I clung to the excuses, told myself maybe I misread it. Maybe Julia was just being friendly. Maybe feeding someone a shrimp wasn't some declaration of int asterisk Macy, just one of those weird social things people in creative industries do to look effortlessly cool. Or maybe I was just being paranoid. But the truth was, I couldn't stop seeing it. That tiny scene, her fork, his eyes, their silence, had carved itself into my brain like a groove on an old record, replaying in the background of everything that followed. After that night, I started noticing things. Or maybe I'd been noticing all along, and I just didn't want to admit it. The next morning, she was already out of bed when I woke up. I heard her humming in the bathroom, blow-drying her hair, like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't rewritten the rules of our relationship with one casual gesture. When she came downstairs, she was already in work mode, chugging black coffee, tapping out emails on her phone, not even glancing up as I made breakfast. "Late meeting today?" I asked, watching her slide her laptop into her bag. "Yeah," she said. "Jason wants to go over Q1 strategy before the full team comes back. You know how he gets when he's in prep mode." I nodded, but something caught, just the way she said his name. Soft, familiar. She used to call her boss Mr. Sandler when she first started. Then it became Jason. Now it was just Jason, like he was part of our lives. I started noticing the language shift. Subtle, but it was there. We used to be we. Now it was I. We used to say ours. Lately, everything was mine and yours. The distance hadn't come all at once. It had crept in gradually, quiet and efficient, like a draft slipping in through a window you didn't know was cracked. It was in the way she never really looked me in the eye anymore, always just past me or over my shoulder. In the way she'd started wearing perfume to work again after months of saying she'd outgrown that stuff. In the way she laughed when she texted, but never told me who it was. It wasn't just that something was off. It was that everything now felt too fine, too rehearsed, like she was living beside me, not with me. One Saturday afternoon, she told me she was renting a creative studio. "It's just for my freelance stuff," she said, casually flipping through a Pottery Barn catalog. A space to think, you know? At first, I was proud of her. She always talked about building something for herself. But when I asked if I could come see it, help her paint, move furniture, hang those weird string lights she liked, her response was too quick. "Not yet," she said. "It's still kind of a mess. Honestly, it's boring." You'd hate it. I let it go, but the conversation lingered in my mind like a splinter. She started spending more time at that studio. Long hours. Late nights. Sometimes, she'd forget to text altogether. One night, I stayed up waiting, just to see when she'd get home. She didn't walk through the door until 1:12 a.m. No apology, just a vague, we lost track of time. We? I asked. She froze for half a second, then recovered. Just me and some folks from the design team. It turned into an impromptu brainstorm. I nodded, but something in my chest tightened. She used to leave her phone everywhere, on the kitchen counter, the nightstand, even the bathroom floor. Now it was glued to her hand. Always face down. Always locked. She set it on silent before bed and tucked it under her pillow, like it needed to sleep too. One night, while she showered, her phone lit up on the dresser. I didn't touch it. I just looked at the screen. A name popped up, Jason S. A message preview blinked. Let me know when you're home safe, smiley face. The smiley face was what did it. Jason S. Not Jason Work, or Sandler or Boss. Just Jason. With a soft initial. With emojis. That night I couldn't sleep. I laid awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathing next to me. Calm, steady. Like she hadn't just set fire to something and walked away. That's when I realized it. She wasn't with me anymore. She was around me, like furniture, like a coat on a hanger. Everything we once shared felt muted. Our playlists were gone. Literally. The shared Spotify we built over years, filled with road trip songs and lazy Sunday albums, erased. I opened it one night and saw nothing. Just her private account. No followers. No followers allowed. She used to text me during the day. Little things. This sandwich tastes like cardboard, or some lady brought a cat to the meeting. Silly, pointless stuff that still meant, I'm thinking of you. Now, silence. No check-ins. No memes. No gifts. Just the occasional, running late. Don't wait up. I tried to talk to her. One night over dinner. Take out sushi? Her favorite. I said, do you feel like we're still us? She didn't even look up. What does that mean? I mean, do we feel like a couple to you? She poked at her miso soup. Adam, you're being weird. I'm being honest, I said. You don't talk to me anymore. You're always at the studio. You act like I don't exist half the time. She finally looked up. Her face was calm, unreadable. That's not fair. I'm not trying to fight, I said. I'm trying to ask if you still want this. She sighed and put down her chopsticks. You know, I've been going through a transition, Adam. I've been clear about that. The job, the studio, it's a lot. I'm just trying to figure out who I am outside of being your wife. Okay? That doesn't mean I don't love you. She reached out and squeezed my hand. But even that felt rehearsed. Like a line in a script she'd written earlier in the day. After that, I stopped asking questions. I told myself she needed space. That I was overreacting. That this was just a phase, like when she dyed her hair blue or took improv classes for 6 weeks and quit after bombing a live set. But it wasn't a phase. It was a shift. One I couldn't unsee. She stopped wearing her wedding ring, not all the time, just selectively. Said it irritated her finger when she typed. She stopped adding anything to our shared calendar. No dinner plans. No travel ideas. Just blank squares. White space where our life used to be. I tried to fill the gaps. I booked a weekend trip to Big Sur. Told her we could hike, disconnect, maybe reset. She said she couldn't take time off. Too much going on at the studio. When I suggested we have a quiet night in, she said she had Zoom calls with the team. When I ordered her favorite Indian takeout on a random Tuesday, she said she'd already eaten with Jason. He was near my studio, she said. We grabbed a quick bite. Don't make it a thing. I didn't say anything, but it was already a thing. The gap between us wasn't a crack anymore. It was a canyon, and I was standing on one side, waving across the emptiness, while she kept walking further and further away. She still smiled, still kissed me goodbye, still said, I love you sometimes, usually in passing like it was muscle memory. But it didn't feel like love. Felt like a placeholder. like she was just waiting until she could replace me completely. And maybe that's what hurt the most. Not the idea of her being with someone else, but the idea that I no longer mattered enough to even lie to properly. She was already somewhere else. Her body still came home, but her heart? It had already moved out. It happened by accident. That's the part that still haunts me. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't digging. I didn't even know her email was open. All I wanted was to print a damn insurance form. That's it. I opened the drawer in the hallway desk, pulled out the old tablet, one we barely used anymore, and figured I could quickly log in, download the form, and head out to the appointment. Julia had been using the tablet off and on for work stuff lately, sketching layouts or sending reference photos for her freelance projects. She'd said she liked how clutter-free it felt. The screen lit up. It was already logged in. Not to a browser window, not to some design tool, to her email. Julia's inbox wide open. And the first thing I saw, dead center of the screen, was a message from Jason. Subject line, "Last night red heart." I froze. My hand hovered over the screen, unsure whether to scroll or slam it shut. I told myself to walk away. I told myself this wasn't mine to see, that if I opened it, there would be no unseeing it. But something in me knew. I tapped it. It wasn't long. Just a short email sent at 7:14 a.m. that morning. Still thinking about the way you looked in my blazer. Might steal it back next time. Hope you slept okay. Wish I could have stayed. Jay. My mouth went dry. My heart felt like it had collapsed in on itself. My first instinct wasn't even rage. It was disbelief. Like my brain refused to catch up to what my eyes had just read. I tapped backward, thinking maybe, just maybe, it was a weird inside joke, something harmless. But then I saw the others. Dozens of emails. Dozens. Some short, some longer. Some labeled studio updates. Some with nothing in the subject line at all. None of them were official. Not a single one looked like something you'd send to your boss or even a mentor. No, these were layered. Hinted. Int asterisk mate. I opened another. I haven't felt like myself in a long time. But with you, it's easy. You make me forget the rest of the noise. Another. When you said I looked like sunlight. God. I haven't stopped thinking about it. Another. Can you come by the studio tomorrow? After 7. No one else will be there. I just want one night without watching the clock. Some included photos. One of Julia on the couch. Our couch. The blue sectional she said was too masculine, but kept anyway because she loved the way it made naps feel. She was wearing one of my old hoodies, but it wasn't me holding the camera. The angle was different, higher, further, taken by someone else. In another photo, she stood in our kitchen, looking down at her phone, mid-laugh. The oven door's reflection caught the edge of a tall frame behind her, blurred, but unmistakably male. Unmistakably Jason. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just started printing, page by page. Not all of them, just the ones that told the full story. The ones that showed intention, consistency, pattern of time, of planning. This wasn't a fling. This wasn't an office crush that got out of hand. This was another life, quietly constructed just a few miles away from mine. I printed 15 emails in total. The last one was sent 2 nights before. Subject line. You left your earring again. Smiley face. I put the pages in a manila envelope. No label. No note. I left it on her bedside table. That night I didn't wait for a reaction. I didn't want the performance. I didn't want the justifications or the tears. I simply packed a duffel bag and stayed at my brother's for the night. Julia didn't call. The next morning I returned. She was still home, sitting on the edge of the bed, the envelope beside her, untouched. I stood in the doorway. She looked up at me, pale, eyes puffy but dry. No mascara, no lipstick, no armor. You went through my email, she said, quiet, not angry, not surprised, just tired. I opened the tablet to print something, I replied. It was already open. She nodded as if that explanation made perfect sense. She didn't defend herself, Didn't accuse me of invading her privacy. She just looked away. A silence passed between us. "I guess you want me gone," she said. I shook my head. "I want the truth to match your actions. That's all I've ever wanted." She swallowed hard. Her voice came out hoarse. "I didn't mean for this to happen." I didn't answer. Instead, I walked to the closet and began pulling her things, one by one, into a suitcase. Her sweaters, her journals, the shoebox of ticket stubs and hotel keys she liked to keep under the bed. I didn't throw anything. I didn't yell. I folded everything carefully, as if preparing a goodbye I'd been writing for months. She sat there and watched me, didn't try to stop me, didn't offer to help. Her only words came when I zipped up the suitcase. "Do you want me to leave tonight?" I stood straight, looked her in the eyes. "I want what's already happened to stop pretending it hasn't." She blinked. "What does that mean?" "It means you've already left," I said. "Your body's just been catching up." I handed her the suitcase. She didn't take it right away, just stared at it, eyes glossing over. I expected her to fight, to fall apart, to beg, but she didn't. And that's when I knew it wasn't shock. It wasn't guilt. She'd prepared for this moment. Maybe not consciously, maybe not fully, but part of her had been rehearsing this goodbye for a long time. Before she left, I slipped a note into the side pocket of her bag. I didn't say it aloud, but I needed her to read it. It said, "We both know this isn't the first time, but it's the last time you'll do this to me." The house was quiet after she left. No text, no call, no goodbye, just the sound of the door shutting behind her and the echo of something final. I sat in the hallway for a long time, holding nothing, not even pain, just absence, the kind that feels like you've been unplugged from your own life. I didn't tell anyone right away, not my brother, not my friends. Felt too big, too raw. And besides, what was I supposed to say? That my wife of 7 years had been having a second relationship in plain sight? That the woman who once cried during airport goodbyes had managed to build a secret world without flinching? For the next few days I lived in limbo. I didn't throw out her things. I didn't block her number. I didn't go on some emotional purge. I just stopped waiting for her. Stopped setting a place for her on the dinner table. Stopped wondering if she'd text. Stopped checking the studio's Instagram, where she used to post design mock-ups and behind-the-scenes sketches. Now there were no posts, just silence. A digital ghost town. A week later, I received a single text from her. I got the note. No apology. No explanation. Just that, like acknowledgement was supposed to be enough. I stared at it for a long time, then deleted it without responding. Because here's the thing people don't tell you about betrayal. It doesn't always show up with a knife in your back. Sometimes it comes with a soft smile, with quiet mornings, with hands that still brush yours on the way to the coffee pot. Comes wearing your hoodie, humming your playlist, eating from your fridge. It builds a second life using pieces from your first. And when it collapses, it doesn't explode. Crumbles. Quietly. Completely. And somehow you're the last to know it's already gone. I expected a fight. Or at least something. Tearful apology. A defensive rant. Maybe even denial. I had imagined every variation of it. Her storming into the room, throwing accusations at me for going through her email, trying to twist the story into something less ugly. I'd braced myself for impact. Rehearsed calm responses. Told myself I wouldn't yell, wouldn't beg. I was ready for a war. But nothing came. Just silence. That was the most surreal part of it all. Not the betrayal, not even the proof. Just how quiet everything became afterward. The envelope I'd left on her nightstand sat there the entire day, unopened. She saw it. I watched her glance at it twice. Once in the morning while getting dressed, once again as she walked by on her way to the bathroom. But she never touched it. Like it was a bomb she was too tired to defuse. Or maybe she didn't need to. Maybe she already knew exactly what was inside. She didn't ask me any questions. Didn't demand an explanation. Didn't even ask if I wanted to talk. We moved around each other in the house like cautious strangers, sharing space but not breath. She made coffee that morning, like she always did, and left a mug for me on the counter. As if it were any other Thursday. As if we were still normal. I poured it down the drain. I spent the day packing her things. Not out of revenge or spite, but because there was nothing else left to do. The illusion was over. The performance had ended. And I didn't want to live in a stage set any longer. I took out her suitcases from the attic. The nice ones. The set we'd bought before our trip to Vancouver, back when we still planned trips together. Back when we talked about seeing Norway or renting a cabin in the Pacific Northwest. I dusted them off, opened the larger one, and started folding her clothes neatly inside. I didn't rush. I wasn't angry in that moment. I was deliberate. Her side of the closet, blouses, jackets, dresses, went in first. Then the drawers. Socks, yoga pants, her stack of cozy t-shirts, one of which still had my name written in Sharpie across the inside collar from college. I folded them all with care. I don't know why. Maybe because part of me still remembered the woman who used to fall asleep on my chest and say things like, "Home isn't a place. It's a person." Then I found the shoebox under the bed. I hadn't seen it in years. Inside were scraps of our relationship, concert stubs, handwritten notes, keychains from cities we visited, a broken locket from a trip we took to the coast. There was even an old napkin she'd scribbled on in green ink that said, "You make silence feel like music." I sat on the edge of the bed with it in my lap for a long time. It should have made me feel something. Nostalgia, regret, maybe longing. But all I felt was absence. That line, "You make silence feel like music," now sounded like mockery. Eventually, I put the box in the suitcase too. By late afternoon, she was still upstairs. I didn't call for her. I didn't ask if she needed help. I just placed the packed bag beside the couch and sat down, waiting. Not for her. For whatever would happen next. She came downstairs an hour later, barefoot, wrapped in a cardigan, eyes red but dry. She looked at the suitcase, then at me, and finally she spoke. "Do you want me to leave tonight?" I shook my head. Not because I wanted her to stay, but because the question itself felt so off. Like the decision was still hers. Like the house, the relationship, even the truth still belonged to her. I looked her in the eyes. "I want reality to match your choices. That's all." She blinked slowly, her mouth parting slightly, like she might speak again. But nothing came out. I stood up and walked toward the kitchen, and without turning around, I said quietly, "You left a long time ago. Only your body was catching up." She didn't follow me. That evening, she packed her laptop, a duffel, and the suitcase I'd filled. No yelling, no explanations, no desperate hugs. She moved slowly, like someone walking through a dream she didn't want to wake up from. Before she left, I slid a folded note into the front pocket of her bag. It said, "We both know this isn't the first time, but it's the last time you'll do this to me." She never acknowledged it. She stepped outside, stood on the porch for a moment, then walked to her car. Didn't look back, just drove away. And suddenly, the house was so quiet it hurt. Not loud silence, not dramatic, just quiet. The kind that buzzes in your ears. The kind that makes your own breath feel intrusive. I stood in the living room for a long time. The suitcase was gone. Her keys were still on the hook by the door. The scent of her shampoo still clung to the throw blanket on the couch. Her half-empty tea mug sat on the table next to a book she was reading called The Art of Stillness. I picked it up, flipped to the last dog-eared page. She'd underlined a sentence. "Sometimes the deepest kind of peace is the kind that comes after you've lost something you thought you couldn't live without." I didn't know if she meant to underline it for herself or for me. I left the book where it was. The next morning I cleaned the kitchen. Not out of habit, but because I couldn't stand to see the traces of her anymore. I emptied the dishwasher, scrubbed the sink, threw out the mug. I found one of her bobby pins on the floor and placed it gently into the trash, like it might break if I was careless. And then I sat at the kitchen table, staring at nothing. No emails, no texts, just hours stretching long and thin. I started noticing things in the house I hadn't really paid attention to before. The tiny crack in the bathroom tile. The way the third stair creaked louder than the rest. The burned-out light bulb in the hallway. I started fixing things. Not because I cared about the house, but because it gave me something to do. Something solid. Somewhere around sunset, I opened her drawer in the entryway. The place where she kept her scarves, loose change, and miscellaneous clutter. Inside was an old pair of sunglasses, a single glove, and a sealed envelope addressed to herself. No name, no return address, just open when it's time. I didn't touch it. That night, I slept in the middle of the bed, stretched out, arms wide, and for the first time in weeks, I didn't dream of her. I dreamed of walking through a wide, empty field. No noise, no motion, just wind, and it felt like breathing. The house didn't feel empty, felt still. After Julia left, I expected to feel gutted, to fall apart. But instead, what I felt was relief. Not peace, at least not yet, but space. The kind of quiet that didn't choke. The absence of tension was like stepping out of a room you didn't know was filled with smoke until you finally inhaled clean air. I didn't make a grand ceremony of reclaiming the space. No bonfires of her clothes, no deletion rampage. I just started living around her absence. Her side of the bed stayed empty. The throw pillows she always arranged just so remained crooked. The coffee mug she left out, gone. The tea bags she liked sat untouched in the drawer, and I didn't have the heart to throw them out yet. Not because I wanted her back, but because grief doesn't ask for logic. The first few days felt like static. I moved through the house like someone recovering from anesthesia. Numb, observing, seeing things clearly for the first time and wondering how I hadn't noticed them before. Like the fading photo frames on the hallway wall. The calendar still frozen on November. The travel books collecting dust. Clues everywhere, scattered like breadcrumbs I had refused to follow. I kept going to work, ate meals, responded to texts with short, polite answers. My brother asked if I was okay, and I said, getting there. That was the truth. I wasn't in pieces. I was just adjusting, getting reacquainted with silence. One night, I pulled out the box of old photos, real ones not cloud-stored or filtered. I spread them across the dining table, looking at years of our lives like they belonged to someone else. Julia laughing in a hammock. Me cooking at the lake house, back when we rented places on a whim and didn't need reasons. I looked at our honeymoon pictures and saw it clearly. She had already started vanishing then. Not in her face, but in her posture. Her eyes were smiling, but her body leaned slightly away. Small tells. Distance disguised as movement. And then I saw me, grinning, arms wide, always the one reaching. It was like watching a story where one character is falling in love, and the other is falling out, and neither of them knows it yet. I'd missed it all. Not because I was blind. Because I chose not to see. I remembered the day she rented the studio. I'd offered to help her decorate. She said no. Said it was her space. That word had started creeping in everywhere. Her projects. Her energy. Her peace. I used to think that was just her independence. But it wasn't. It was separation. A slow departure masked as personal growth. I stopped sleeping with the bedroom door open. Not because I was afraid she'd come back, but because I didn't want to look into the hallway and expect footsteps. I stopped checking the driveway for her car. I turned off notifications from her shared Google Calendar, what was left of it. I deleted our couple's playlist, but I kept one song, Sea of Love. I don't know why. Maybe because it was the only one where we both sang out of key together. It felt like the last true version of us, unfiltered, off-pitch, but real. Days passed. One morning, I woke up and realized I had slept through the night without waking up once. No cold sweats, no panic, just rest. I stood in the kitchen that day, eating toast over the sink, and thought, I'm gonna be okay. I wasn't healed, but I was breathing again.